So we have our cherries ready. The next step is we're going to add our dry ingredients. So here you're going to want 2 cups of flour. I already have 1 cup poured in here. Here we go. Next, you're going to want 1/3 cup granulated sugar. You can use coconut sugar to substitute. All right, now we want 1 tablespoon baking powder. And then we want a 1/2 teaspoon salt. Now you guys, I just have this Himalayan pink salt and I ground it down in my little pestle here. And that's about a 1/2 teaspoon, so we're gonna add that. Okay, on to the next step. So now that we have whisked in all the dry ingredients, we are going to cut in with a pastry cutter or fork until the mixture becomes gravel-like our butter and cream cheese. So you're gonna want 4 tablespoons of cream cheese. I use the Philadelphia cream cheese, and then 5 tablespoons of butter. Now we have a milk cow, we make our own butter. So if you do that, that's fine. Just make sure you know your measurements. I just chose to use the store-bought butter so you guys could see the 5 tablespoons. So again, use a fork, use a pastry cutter, and I'll come back and show you when it's gravel-like. So we're back, and you see here, this is kind of a gravel-like consistency. You know, little clumps in there where the butter and the cream cheese have kind of blended in with the flour. So now you guys, we're gonna mix some of the wet ingredients and add it to here. All right, we're back again. So now we're gonna mix in our cream, egg, and vanilla, and then we're just gonna mix it together with this fork here. So for the vanilla, you want 1 teaspoon. And you guys, you can put a 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract in also to add a little more flavor. I just use regular vanilla because I make it. So if you go to heatherearls.com/vanilla, you'll find that recipe on how to make your own homemade vanilla. So 1 teaspoon vanilla. This is 1/2 cup heavy cream. This is fresh from our cow. And then here is 1 amazing farm egg added in here. Now you guys, the reason I'm telling you this is because the fresher the ingredients, the more flavor you are going to have in anything you make, whether you're baking and or cooking. So now we're just gonna whip this together, and after that we're gonna add it to the dry ingredients. So here we are back again. Here's our dry ingredients we mixed together, our wet ingredients, and now we have 1 1/3 cups of our cherries and 1/4 cup of almonds. Now you guys, the almonds, if you don't want to add it in now, you can just sprinkle a little on top, which I'm going to do because some of the family members don't like nuts in their scones. So we are just going to sprinkle a little almonds on top of 1/2 of them. So whoever wants a little flavor of almonds can have that. But if you like almonds in it, this is the time where you're going to dump in. Also for the cherries, these are Nanking cherries. If you have bigger cherries, I would suggest that you slice them in half before adding them. But these are just beautiful, wonderful as they are, and I'm not gonna cut them up. Also, you guys, these we picked yesterday, pitted them, and so they're fresh for today. You don't have to do it that same day, just keep them in the refrigerator until you're ready to use. So now what we wanna do is we're gonna take our bowl of wet ingredients and you're gonna mix it in with your dry ingredients. Now, you guys, gently mix together until all the ingredients are moistened. Add in the cherries and almonds and mix until just combined. Try not to overwork the dough. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna be doing here. Just slightly, you just want it moistened. This isn't one where you just like beat, 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 beat. Because usually when you overwork the dough, it becomes tough. Okay. So once this is all moistened, I'm gonna come back and we're gonna add the cherries. Here you see the dough is just moistened. I'm gonna hold it up so you can see it. I like getting my hands dirty, they're nice and clean. But you can see here, it's moistened, okay, because it's sticking to my fingers a little bit. Now at this point, you want to add in the cherries and again the almonds if you want those, and then you guys mix again just until combined. So give me a second here, my fingers are full. So cherries and cherries. And I'm actually just gonna mix this around with my hand a little bit. I know it sounds gross, but it's okay. I'm used to baking bread, so I just like to get my hands in here. Okay, and this way you can just kind of squish the cherries in a little bit. You see how this is just kind of forming nicely. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna finish doing this and then I'll be back. All right, there you see the finished project of the cherries kind of slightly mixed in here. Now this is still pretty moist. Our next step, you guys, is we're gonna transfer this dough onto the lined baking sheet. You should have parchment paper on a baking sheet. You wanna flour your hands and surface to help keep the dough from sticking. And then we're gonna shape it into a ball and then press it into a disc that is about 1 inch thick. So here you have baking sheet. My hands are still sticky. I'm just gonna go like this, and then we're just gonna spread it around a little bit. It doesn't have to be a ton. Okay, we're gonna start off here. So we're gonna transfer this. It splits apart, that's okay. I don't mind because I can kind of push it into the flour a little bit. Get a little flour on this one too. It's gonna be so good. You guys, the reason I started doing this recipe is because we have so many cherry trees and I needed a way to use them. Okay, see, my hands are still kind of wet. So what I'm gonna do is just keep my cup of flour handy here, and we're just gonna do this so we can kind of form this into a ball. Right, or a glob, whatever you want to call this. Okay, and I am going to spread a little more flour around. You can kind of tell when your dough is moist. Sometimes cherries will make it a little more moist depending on if they're homegrown or if you're getting them from the store. Okay, so then you guys, we're going to press down. Again, we're making a disc. Hold it up further so you can see. So a disc in our pan until it's about 1 inch thick. Again, just keep pressing. If it's sticking, add a little more flour. You're just doing this with your hands instead of a rolling pin. All right, once I get this into a nice disc, I'll come back and we'll cut it. So here you have it. This disc is a little oblong because if you guys are familiar with baking or cooking, sometimes this recipe calls for 8 scones, but as you can see, these are going to be 8 big scones just because that's the way it goes sometimes. So here I've kind of outlined the pattern. You can see, just cut straight across, down the middle, and then hit your diagonals to get your 8. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them all the way through, and then we're going to separate them a little bit so that when they bake, they're not touching. All right, I want to show something to you guys, a special tip. So here I've separated all of these. Now I want you to see this dough down here. Now, if you guys didn't get enough flour on the bottom, all you need to do is just add a little more when you're separating them. It's not going to ruin it. Kind of mix it in with that wet stuff, and then just flip your scone back over on it. Okay, so that way when they're all cooked, you can just pop them off right away. So here I just used a butter knife, but what I did is I would run my butter knife through flour as I was cutting so it doesn't stick. So here you just need a little space in between all of them. And since we have that, we are going to bake them for 22 to 24 minutes or until golden brown. And then we're going to remove them from the oven and then let cool for 5 to 10 minutes. And while they're baking, we're going to make our glaze. Glaze is always optional, but I'm going to show you in this video how to do it just in case you want to. All right, so we're on to the glaze portion. Now we're just going to take all these ingredients. We have 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We're going to dump them all in the same bowl. You guys can use 1 teaspoon of almond extract. Again, if you want that more almond flavor for these scones instead of the vanilla, just use that in substitute. Then we have 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. You guys, this needs to be room temperature. The cream cheese and butter we used earlier should be cold, okay? Then we have 1 cup of powdered sugar. And then we have 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh heavy cream. Now you guys, all I'm gonna do is just mix these until they're thick and smooth, and then add a few additional splashes of cream if necessary. You guys can kind of tell the texture of it. Once that's done, we're gonna drizzle it over the warm scones and then top with additional almond slices. But I'll come back after this is a nice thick and creamy consistency. All right, you guys, these I put in for 22 minutes and look at them. They are golden brown, absolutely delicious looking. I wish you could smell them. Now, here we have our cooling rack, which we're gonna put them on in just a second. And here is our glaze. Now I'm gonna take a closer look because you can see this is what happens if your cream cheese isn't quite to room temperature. I use the KitchenAid to whip this up. You can use beaters or whatever. But you guys, since the scones are hot, it's not gonna matter, that cream cheese will melt, so we're still gonna use this. And then, like I said, we are going to put some of our shaved almonds on half of them. So in order to put the glaze on, I'm gonna scoot this a little closer. Just take a spoon. Okay, we're gonna whip this a little bit. And you literally are just going to drizzle, okay? You're just gonna do this all over until you have as much on as you want. Okay, I'm gonna do this half. Now you can drizzle this on once the scones are cooled a little, but I would suggest doing it right away because then you can enjoy them. Okay, a little more. Oh, my mouth is watering. Okay, so there you have kind of half drizzled on, half not. And then I'm gonna take my shaved almonds. You can take about 2 tablespoons or just do it however you want. And we're just gonna drizzle these all over the top. Look how delicious this is. Now you add a cup of coffee and a cup of tea when you have company, or just even use this as your dessert, and your family and guests are gonna be amazed and love you for it. So you guys, that's it on how to make these fresh cherry scones. I'm going to add a picture at the end of me eating one because, well, I want to. If there's anything else you guys want to know about these, put a comment in the comment section, and or follow me on the channel, and or visit Heather at heatherearls.com for more incredible recipes. Catch you next time.